Hi friends, welcome again to John's Briefs here at Active Self-Protection Extra. I am here today with James from TFB TV, and I told you last week that on John's Briefs we're going to talk about the Arbery case a little bit more. In particular, William Roddy Bryan was convicted of felony murder, being in the second truck on his cell phone. A lot of people asked about why, and so let's talk to the attorney about how that could happen.
Now more than ever, you need trusted coverage to help you win the fight after the fight. The company I trust and recommend is Firearms Legal Protection. They offer discounts on all their plans at the link in the description. I recommend the premium plan.
So, James, I think there's a lot of angst about this one. Like, wait a minute, is that just that he was convicted of murder too? And I'm going to ask you that question first. Do you think it was just for him to be convicted of murder?
You see, that's one I would have liked to have seen the verdict form there, but I mean, it's one of those things where, let's say, me and you, I mean, who knows, maybe we could do this later tonight.
We're in Vegas.
We go to the 7-Eleven, we decide to knock it off, we decide to knock it over. I go there with you. I'm a material participant with you. I'm there, maybe I'm just there with my hands in my pockets, but I go with you. You stick the guy up at the cashier. You
Great, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, oh, of course, it would be you. I mean, it wouldn't be me. No,
I mean, okay,
it probably would be me. But in participating and being there, I have subjected myself to criminal liability, and I've participated in your commission of the crime. In some states, that's conspiracy. In some states, just being a material participant in the crime, that makes you a part of the crime. And for that matter, if you have 3, 4, 5 guys that are chasing down, in this case, it was three. You had 3 men chasing down.
3 men and 2 cars. Yep.
Right, chasing down Arbery. And the thing is, he, in participating, made the ultimate resolution of what happened, to use a euphemism. What ultimately happened. He helped bring about that result by his participation.
We do know at times that he tried to cut Arbery off, that as Arbery was going back and forth and trying to get away from these guys, that he was trying to hurt him as well. And then in the fatal moment had his cell phone out recording what had happened. And so that makes him a material participant. Yeah,
sure. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, of course, his defense attorney is going to say, look, he didn't pull the trigger, but again, he did participate. He did make it more likely than not that this was going to occur. And you don't have to be, it isn't only the trigger guy in some instances who's going to be hit with murder.
Right.
Now, in other cases that, depending on the facts, that may or may not be the case. Somebody might... They could have maybe said assault or harassing, or I don't know what the laws are in Georgia.
Right.
But for pursuing this man, however, they saw him as a material participant in the murder of Mr. Arbery, and therefore he's charged with murder.
So now, okay, I'm going to engage my friend, the attorney here, my criminal defense as well as civil litigation attorney, because what had happened was that. That Bryan saw the McMichaels, right, father and son, take off after Arbery and decided, oh, these are my friends, so I got to go help them. Right? He didn't know what was going on here, really, but he knew they were chasing him, and so he went to take off after them. I think, obviously, we can see in retrospect that was a really, really bad idea.
Oh, it's a terrible idea, and it's like we talked about in the last video. Let's say that even if he had beaten the charges, he certainly could also be culpable in civil court. He would have been, that is
for sure.
Preponderance of evidence. That is 50.1%. If the jury believes that more likely than not that you're guilty, I mean, it's not guilty, but that you're held liable,
sure,
then you could be on the hook for $1 million, upwards of $1 million in a wrongful death case.
Well, they are all 3 going to be liable for that.
Sure.
And any financial wherewithal they possibly had is gone.
And this actually sounds terrible. I appreciate the fact that you have people who are vigilant. I appreciate that you have people who want to safeguard their neighborhoods. However, if you're going to put yourself in the position of being the police, more or less, you're going to deputize yourself, you are going to place yourself in great jeopardy of civil and criminal liability. Yeah. So again, I think vigilance is great. I think we should all be vigilant. I think we should all be good neighbors. But at a certain point, you need to dial it back. And you need to reflect on what you're doing. And really, if you have a second to reflect on it, maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and being cautious, being willing to say, no, I'm just going to let it go. I wonder, I haven't primed him on this stuff. You guys know, we just have conversations, right? That, okay, so when we ask, well, wait a minute, an officer has a qualified immunity against civil liability for their actions when they're acting within the confines of their duties. And so we as a society say we've all deputized that person to do that, so we collectively as a society take that liability. But you as a private citizen, we have not agreed to accept the liability, so you choose all the liability for yourself if you act incorrectly.
Sure. And in some states, and I don't know how it is in Georgia, but in states like Louisiana, for example, if you beat a charge, not if you're not charged, you have to actually go into court on a criminal charge and beat it, then you'll get civil immunity. So nobody can sue you. However, that's a very scary situation to be in.
Because you've had to take all the criminal risk.
You've had to pay for a lawyer. I mean, unless I know we both are representing our own, and we both have our own programs, legal defense programs, which are a great idea. I don't care who you go with. I think it's a great idea. And side note, John, and I'm sorry to sidetrack this, but this is very important for your viewers. Get bond coverage. If your program offers bond,
you don't want to sit in jail.
I've got a client right now. His bail was set. He was defending himself. His bail was set at $750,000. Imagine the conversation I have to have with this guy when he asks me, which he did, am I going to be home for Christmas? I wanted to say, look, man, if Santa delivers $750,000.
Or you could pay a bail bondsman maybe 75 G's today.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing is, I mean, you're also assuming that 10% in that jurisdiction. You know, there are many jurisdictions that they'll cap it, they'll put limits, but in some it's 15, in some it's 12. So 75,000, you might be getting a bargain, but you're never going to see that money again. It's gone. 75,000 gone, or $750,000 cash. Hold on to it, John. I know you got a very successful YouTube channel.
I ain't got $750,000.
But you ain't got $750,000. I guarantee you don't have $750,000 cash sitting ready to put up. So get bond coverage. And I'm sorry to derail the conversation.
No, I think it's wise.
But that is very important for your viewers and for my viewers to understand.
So again, this big thing, I want you to be cautious accepting that liability. And to say, again, I think the analogy here is, you know, three guys try to carjack somebody, and one of them decides to kill the person in the car. They're all three going to get charged with his murder. And I know some states, if the person in the car shoots one of the carjackers, his two conspirators will get charged with murder for his death in those cases. That depends on the jurisdiction. So could you see a way that Bryan maybe gets some different charges, but the prosecution and the jury saw him as a material participant.
Sure.
So he's going to catch those charges too. So I think there's a few lessons here. Number one, choose your friends wisely.
Oh yeah.
Because if they get you into stupid stuff, they're not doing your jail time. I think number two, if you got a chance to think about it, the answer should probably be no. And man, just be very cautious chasing people. Even if you think they've done something wrong, I would say unless a life is immediately at risk, let it go.
Let me, and I hate to cross-check you on this, John, but even if you know that they've done something wrong,
just let it go.
I mentioned it in the last video, if I saw someone robbing your house, I wouldn't chase after them. I would call the police. Maybe I'd keep an eye on them. You know, you don't want to deter vigilance. You don't want to deter people
taking care of the community.
Right, precisely. You don't want to, and I get that, but the point is you need to reflect on it. And we practice at the range, right? We shoot, we do jujitsu, but nobody really practices a mental exercise of, hey, if I saw this happen, if I saw my neighbor get robbed, what would I do?
Right.
And then
here's a plug for the big channel. You can think about it every day when you see it happen.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
But again, you've got to think through those scenarios, because if you don't, you make a bad decision in the moment, end up in prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
He literally got sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm going to probably be in good shape, get a lot of reading done, maybe write a memoir, but I don't want it.
No, I don't want that time at all. So listen to the lawyer, guys. Be very cautious for that. I have another video about the Arbery case, and it's a particular one because I'm going to ask James next week about the prosecution's approach to this case and the racial issues involved in this Arbery case, and I think it's going to surprise you. James, thanks so much for the time, man.
Thanks for having me.